Next up, let's talk about relationship cardinality. So cardinality refers to the uniqueness of values in a column. So in an ideal model, all relationships should follow something called a one-to-many cardinality. That means there's one instance of each primary key and potentially many instances of each foreign key. So in this example here, we've got two tables, product lookup and sales data. And here there's only one instance of each product key in the product table. So we see a 1 on the product lookup end of the relationship. And that's because each row of that table contains attributes of a single product: the product name, the SKU, the description, the price, and so on. On the sales data side of the relationship, we see an asterisk, and that indicates that there are many instances of each product key in the sales table. And that makes sense since there can be many sales for any individual product. So again, this is a good example of what we call a one-to-many cardinality, but I want to show you a quick example of two different types of cardinality, one-to-one and many-to-many, just to help you understand the differences between them. So first example here, one-to-one cardinality. Imagine you have two tables like this. You've got a product lookup table in green, and then kind of this like smaller price lookup table in orange. But both of these tables have a unique product ID column. And if we were to connect the two tables using that product ID field, we would essentially be creating a one-to-one relationship, since each product ID only appears once in each table. Now, there isn't anything wrong with this. It's not necessarily a bad relationship, but you can simplify the model by merging these two tables into one single valid dimension table, like the one you see here. We're essentially pulling that product price field from the orange table into our green product lookup table. Now, I know you may be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, Chris has been telling me not to merge tables. That's bad, never do it. But trust me, in this case, it's legit, right? Because we're not duplicating any data and we're still respecting the rules of normalization, since even in this merged table, all of our rows are unique and they all capture product-specific attributes. So this table still does serve that unique and distinct purpose. The next example that I want to talk through is the many-to-many cardinality. This one's a little bit trickier, but imagine you have two tables like this. Again, you've got a product lookup table in green. Now you have a sales data table in blue. Normally, you'd have a one-to-many relationship here because there should only be one instance of each product ID in the green lookup table, but in this case, we have a duplicate ID with product ID number 4. So if we tried to connect these two tables using that product ID field, we'd get an error message that says, hey, this is a many-to-many cardinality. This is no good because there are multiple instances of product IDs in both tables. And I want you to pause for a minute and step back and think about why this relationship doesn't make any sense, right? Even if we could force this relationship to happen inside of Power BI, how would we know which product was actually sold on each date? Because we have two different products with ID number 4, Washington Cream Soda and Washington Diet Cream Soda, which for the record sounds like a terrible beverage, but that's besides the point. The idea here is that we know that product ID 4 was sold on January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd, but it could have been either one of those products because they share the same ID. So that's our quick cardinality crash course. Let's take just 30 seconds and jump back into our AdventureWorks data model and confirm that we're seeing one-to-many relationships inside of our model view. All right, so here we are back in the AdventureWorks report in the model view. And to check the cardinality of our relationships, there are a couple ways to do it. The easiest is just to do a visual pass. So we're looking for that 1 on the dimension side of our relationship and the asterisk on the fact or data side. That looks good for territory, calendar, customer lookup, product lookup, and it also holds true for our chained or snowflake relationships here between product category, subcategory, and product. So that looks great. The other way that you can check is actually selecting a relationship and checking the properties pane, which will specifically call out the cardinality, in this case, many-to-one. So all looks good. All of our relationships check out, and we've got a nice, properly built relational model.